Hi, and welcome to another episode of Gary Talks. This is a weekend I've been both looking forward to and dreading, and that's the release of the new Fall Guy movie. So today, I'd like to talk about movies based on old TV shows.
Gary Talks Movies. Gary Talks Movies. Gary Talks Movies.
As I've said before, I love Fall Guy. It's not only one of my favorite TV shows of all time, but it's my favorite theme song of all time. I used to watch this growing up, and there's something about those TV shows you watched as a kid that make them super special to you. Recently, when the Roadhouse remake came out, I loved the Roadhouse remake. I thought it was great. I posted about it online, and people were yelling at me, "Oh, the original Roadhouse is such a classic film, this can't touch it." And I get it. For me, the original Roadhouse wasn't that special. It was a bad, cheesy movie that was fun. But in the same vein, when Fall Guy comes out this weekend, a lot of you are going to love it. And it's going to say, oh, it's a fun movie, it's great. And I figure that I'm going to be like, yeah, but it's nothing like the original Fall Guy. And that's because these old shows, these old movies that mean so much to us, it's really hard to capture that magic. So I wanted to talk about this subject because this has been tried numerous times to good and bad results. Now, there have been a ton of movies like Mission Impossible that have been fantastic, or like The Avengers, the spy movie with Sean Connery, that didn't capture the feel. But I really wanted to limit this to the TV shows I watched growing up that have been made into movies. There have been some bad ones, where it feels like, did they even watch the TV show to begin with? It's like they saw a poster of it, or maybe a couple clips, or at most one episode, and then based a movie on what they thought the show was about. You've got movies like Land of the Lost that kinda got the plot right, but was just a horrible movie. You have movies like Baywatch, which should have been fun, but it was just kinda silly and had nothing to do with the show at all. But the biggest offender of any of these is Dukes of Hazzard.
Just a good old voice, never meaning no harm.
If you grew up in the late 70s and early 80s, it's safe to say that Dukes of Hazzard was must-watch television. I know it wasn't just kids who loved it, as it was one of the highest-rated shows on TV, but as a kid, we played as Bo and Luke and Daisy on the playground all the time, filled with stunts, laughable villains, and the down-home Duke family. The show was close to a live-action cartoon, as the boys would always get caught in some plot of Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane. But by the end of every episode, the good guys would win. So what could go wrong with the big screen remake? How about everything? The casting was horrible, as Johnny Knoxville was just Johnny Knoxville, and Seann William Scott played Bo Duke like a big old doofus. And somehow the writers thought that Daisy Duke was a sex pot that Jessica Simpson should play, as opposed to a kind-hearted Southern belle who just happened to wear really short shorts. You'd think Burt Reynolds as Boss Hogg would be good, but this was when Burt was just showing up to cash a paycheck. And honestly, the only good casting was Willie Nelson as Uncle Jesse. But the biggest thing that the movie got wrong was tone, as instead of being a family-type movie, they went more with gross-out humor and sex jokes, something that was never there in the TV show. And if you're going to take a swing at changing up a classic show and making it into a comedy like this, you had better be funny. And the Dukes of Hazzard remake was not in the least. With those really bad ones out of the way, there have been some that were so close to nailing it. They were good. It felt like they almost had the movie, but it just didn't quite pay off. The first one is a really weird one to discuss because it was made by the guy who made the TV show, and that was Miami Vice. It kind of had the feel of the old Miami Vice show with Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx playing Crockett and Tubbs, but it just didn't capture the coolness of Miami Vice. Miami Vice was the coolest show on TV, and while Miami Vice the movie is decent and has decent parts, it has the horrible non-point version of In the Air Tonight in it.
I can feel it coming in the air.
For the love of God, just use the Phil Collins version. But again, the Miami Vice movie version of the TV show wasn't all bad. Same goes for the A-Team. When I saw they were casting this one, I thought this is going to be horrible. I don't buy Liam Neeson. I thought Bradley Cooper would be a good face, but really it was Rampage Jackson as Mr. T, B.A. Baracus that just did not work for me. But it wasn't all bad. They incorporated some of the themes of the show, the characters felt pretty good, and the plot was fun. Overall, the A-Team remake was an okay version. Another one that was just okay to me was the original Charlie's Angels in 2000. It's crazy to say original Charlie's Angels because you would think original is the TV show, but we've had the 2000 Charlie's Angels with the sequel to that movie, and then the other movie that came out a few years ago that I didn't even bother to see because it just didn't look fun. But the Charlie's Angels movie in 2000 was fun. It didn't really feel like the TV show. It actually felt more polished and more action-y than the TV show did. But it was still an okay movie to watch, and I thought they did a decent job. Now, there are a few of these remakes that turned out really good, like the Brady Bunch movie. I didn't think I would like it at all, but it was fun. It really captured that feel of the Brady Bunch TV show, while also kind of poked fun at it, which was interesting, and I thought it really worked. Another one like that was Starsky and Hutch, which I didn't think was going to work at all, but I really enjoyed it. It poked fun at Starsky and Hutch, but Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson did a decent job. Now, it didn't have the seriousness of the old Starsky and Hutch TV show, but it had the car, had a lot of fun, and we got the cameo of the original Starsky and Hutch at the end. It was a good movie, but not quite perfect. Before I get to what I think was the perfect remake of a TV show, I want to talk about one that everyone in the world thinks is a horrible movie. It has really nothing to do with the TV show, and I shouldn't like it at all, but for some reason I love it, and that is Chips. Chips was one of my favorite shows growing up, and my mom actually wrote a letter to the show, and they sent me a signed Polaroid of Larry Wilcox, who played John. I know everyone loved Ponch, and I did too, but John was always my favorite. Chips followed the case of the week formula, as our California Highway Patrol motorcycle cops would thwart all sorts of crime, and much like the Dukes of Hazzard that I mentioned earlier, it was the type of show that the whole family could watch. Much like the Dukes of Hazzard remake movie, the Chips remake movie went with more crude humor and much more adult vibe. But unlike Dukes of Hazzard, Chips made me laugh my ass off. It shouldn't work, and I'd say in all honesty it's probably damn near as bad as Dukes of Hazzard. But you do feel the camaraderie between Dax Shepard as John and Michael Pena as Ponch. Plus, Michael Pena is great at anything he does. And some gross-out humor-type scenes get me each and every time. Like this one.
Just get it over with!
So while Chips might not be a good movie, I enjoyed it, and that makes it better than most of these. Finally, of all the remakes of the TV shows of my youth, there is one that when I saw that it was coming out, I thought it was going to be stupid. I saw the casting, I thought the casting was horrible. I went to the movie thinking I was going to hate it, and I love it. I think it is the perfect representation of what an old TV show could be remade into a movie that is great. And that is 21 Jump Street. I love 21 Jump Street. Johnny Depp was so cool as Officer Tom Hansen, and I loved Peter DeLuise as Doug Penhall. And for the first time, it felt like this was a serious police show that was made for people of my generation. The officers all went undercover in high schools, and even though they sometimes looked 40, we just suspended disbelief and went along with it. What the 21 Jump Street movie did was take that concept and really have fun with it. And it improved on the original show by actually giving us character development, with Jonah Hill as Morton Schmidt and Channing Tatum as Greg Jenko. I can't think of another movie that single-handedly changed my view of an actor as 21 Jump Street did for Channing Tatum. The movie was the perfect blend of action and comedy in a way that we haven't seen since the days of Beverly Hills Cop and Lethal Weapon. And we got this scene, which tied it into the original show.
Yeah, let's do that.
You old boys are stupid.
Oh my god, we're gonna die. We're gonna die.
God damn it.
Tom Hansen, DEA. On your knees.
What the fuck?
Now!
Fuck! Doug Penhall, DEA, you're under arrest. Guns down, all of you!
So 21 Jump Street actually took an old favorite show, respected it, and improved upon it. And that is something that never happens. So what's Fall Guy gonna be? Can Fall Guy thread the needle, be a 21 Jump Street perfect kind of remake of a TV show? I have a feeling it's probably going to be closer to, at best, the Starsky and Hutch, where it's fun, feels like the TV show but doesn't quite get it, but I fear it's going to end up a lot more like Baywatch. And a lot of you guys are going to like it because Ryan Gosling is great, I bet the stunts are awesome, but my fear is it's just not going to feel like Fall Guy. But we'll see, and we'll see if maybe it ends up in one of my top 10 lists at the end of the year. Be sure and join me next week when we talk about music, and I discuss my top 10 favorite bands of my favorite genre, hair metal. See you then.
Eerie Talks Movies. Eerie Talks Movies. Eerie Talks Movies.